I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My name is Mark, and I'm a 36-year-old guy who just landed what I thought was my dream home in a quaint neighborhood in Seattle. My wife, Rachel, and I had been married for 7 years, and while we had our ups and downs, the excitement of moving into our new place had overshadowed any lingering doubts. That was until I discovered the truth. Rachel had been cheating on me with the real estate agent involved in the sale of our home, and the revelation turned my whole world upside down. Let me backtrack a bit to give you some context. Rachel and I had been searching for a home for months, and when we finally found one that ticked all the boxes, we were ecstatic. It was charming, in a great school district, and came with a backyard that I could see our kids playing in someday. We had this vision of a beautiful life there, filled with laughter and family dinners. But looking back, there were little signs that things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Rachel had become more elusive leading up to the move. She was often on her phone, sending texts that she would quickly hide whenever I walked by. It was subtle at first, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I chalked it up to the stresses of moving. Maybe she was just overwhelmed, I thought. The first real red flag came after we moved in. I had installed security cameras around the house for peace of mind, especially since we were in a new neighborhood. One evening, while setting up the app on my phone to check the live feed, I noticed an option to view archived footage. It was a casual click, something I thought would show me the movers arriving or us unloading boxes. Instead, what I saw shattered my reality. The footage revealed Rachel with the real estate agent, a guy named Jason, who had been so helpful during the buying process. In the videos, they were laughing, too close for comfort, and what struck me the most was how intimate they looked. There was one clip where they were sitting on the front porch, my porch, sharing drinks like they were old friends. Then the tone shifted. I watched in disbelief as they leaned in closer and their lips brushed together. My heart dropped. I watched as they kissed, my breath caught in my throat. It felt like time stopped. This was happening in my home, in the place I thought was a safe haven for my family. I didn't even realize I was shaking until my phone nearly slipped from my hands. I couldn't believe it. My wife was cheating on me with the very person who facilitated our dream home. It felt like a cruel joke. My mind raced with questions. How long had this been going on? Did she really think I wouldn't find out? I started replaying moments in my head, the way she had flirted with Jason during the home tour, how she'd laughed at his jokes a little too heartily. I felt sick, betrayed, and utterly confused. This wasn't the Rachel I thought I knew. That night I confronted her. I was shaking with anger and hurt, my heart pounding as I paced the living room. When she walked in, I took a deep breath, ready to unleash a storm of emotions. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. She looked at me, her face a mix of confusion and irritation. "Can it wait? I'm tired after the move." "No, Rachel, it can't wait. I saw something on the security footage," I began, my voice hardening. The moment I mentioned the cameras, her expression shifted. I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes, but she quickly masked it with annoyance. "What are you talking about?" She shot back, crossing her arms defensively. "I saw you with Jason. Don't even try to deny it," I said, my voice rising. Her response was a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Oh, come on, Mark. You really think I would do that? You're being ridiculous." I felt my gut twist. Ridiculous? "Rachel, I have proof. I watched you kiss him." The confrontation spiraled from there. Rachel went on the defensive, claiming I had misinterpreted everything, that it was just a harmless friendship. She spewed excuses as if they were rehearsed lines, insisting I was being paranoid and that I'd misunderstood the context of the videos. But deep down, I knew better. The anger surged again, mixing with a profound sadness. I realized that this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about the life we had built, the trust that had been shattered. Rachel was a master of manipulation, and I felt like a fool for having overlooked the signs. As I stood there, feeling every emotion crash over me, I knew I had to make a decision. This could not go ignored. This was my life, and I wasn't going to let her lies drown me without a fight. My heart was heavy, and I needed to think rationally about what came next. After that confrontation, the air in our house felt charged, almost electric. I had always thought our home was a sanctuary, but now it felt like a battleground. Rachel marched off to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her, leaving me standing alone in the living room. I was a mess, my mind racing with thoughts and emotions. I felt betrayed, angry, and utterly lost. In the days that followed, there was a palpable tension between us. Rachel would flit around the house, acting as if nothing had happened, but I could see the cracks in her facade. I noticed the way she hesitated whenever she reached for her phone, as if she was afraid I'd catch her texting. Jason again. It was all so surreal. I kept replaying the footage in my head, and with each replay the sting of betrayal deepened. My friends noticed my change in demeanor. They would invite me out for drinks or to catch a game, but I found it hard to shake the weight of my reality. "What's up with you, man? You've been quiet," my buddy Jake asked one evening as we sat at our favorite bar. I wanted to tell him everything, to spill out my heartache and anger, but shame held me back. I felt like I had failed in some way, like I was the one who had lost. Eventually, I decided to do what I had been avoiding. I needed to know more about Rachel's affair. The security footage had given me a glimpse, but I craved the full truth. I wanted to confront her with evidence that she couldn't twist or deny. I spent hours thinking about how to gather more information without raising suspicion. I decided to investigate. I started by secretly digging into Rachel's phone. I knew it was wrong, but guilt and sorrow often override logic in times like these. Late one night, I waited until she fell asleep, my heart racing. I crept into our bedroom, my mind racing with apprehension. I grabbed her phone off the nightstand, heart pounding in my chest, unsure of what I would find. My hands shook as I unlocked it with her fingerprint. Thankfully, she had been careless with her security. What I uncovered was a treasure trove of deceit. Text messages with Jason flowed like a river of lies. They were flirty and intimate, filled with inside jokes and plans to meet. I felt like I was being slapped in the face with every word I read. There were messages about how much fun they had together, along with "I miss you" texts that sent waves of nausea through me. My heart raced as I read their exchanges, confirming my worst fears. This wasn't just a fling, it was an emotional affair that had taken root during our house hunting process. One message stood out. "Can't wait to see you again. When can we make it happen? I love when you're in my arms." My stomach turned. This was the woman I had vowed to spend my life with, and she was pouring her heart out to another man. I felt betrayed in the deepest sense. I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. I had to confront Rachel again, but this time I would have undeniable proof. The thought of her reaction made my stomach churn, but I couldn't let her twist this into something that was my fault. I had to stand my ground. The next morning I confronted her again. I sat at the dining table, waiting for her to join me, my resolve hardening with every passing second. When Rachel walked in, I was prepared for her usual nonchalance. She smiled at me, her expression bright and cheerful, as if she had no idea what was about to unfold. "Hey, good morning," she chirped, pouring herself a cup of coffee. I took a deep breath, my palms sweaty. "We need to talk." Again, I said, the weight of the words heavy on my tongue. She frowned, her smile faltering. "What now, Mark? I thought we had cleared everything up." "Clear?" I shot back, my voice rising. "You call lying to my face clearing things up, because I found your messages." Her expression shifted, a flicker of panic crossing her face. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling to find the damning evidence. "These messages, Rachel, you think I wouldn't notice, you think I wouldn't find out." Her demeanor changed instantly. The composed woman I had known for years was replaced by a frantic version of herself. "Mark, please, let's not do this. You're misunderstanding everything," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "Misunderstanding? You're sending flirty texts to Jason while we're married and you think I'm misunderstanding? How deeply do you want to dig your own grave?" I snapped, my anger spilling over. Rachel's face paled as she realized I was serious. "Okay, let me explain. It's not what you think. Jason is just a friend and we had a little fun. It didn't mean anything." "Not what I think," I shot back, incredulous. "You were talking about love, Rachel. This is more than just fun." She tried to turn the conversation, but I held my ground. I demanded the truth. But instead of the honesty I sought, I was met with more half-truths and desperate attempts to downplay her actions. The emotional toll was immense. I felt like I was in a game where the rules kept changing, and every time I thought I had a grasp on the truth, she would twist it again. I could feel the sadness creeping in, taking root alongside my anger. As the conversation progressed, I found myself questioning everything. My love for Rachel was still there, but it was tainted by betrayal. I was losing the woman I had built a life with, and I didn't know how to reconcile that with my feelings or what would happen next. I had reached a breaking point. I needed to make a decision, and I had to do it soon. The promise of our future together felt like ashes in my mouth. I had to decide whether I was going to fight for this marriage or walk away from it entirely. The confrontation that morning left me emotionally drained. Rachel's attempts to downplay her affair only fueled my anger, and I felt more lost than ever. I had spent years building a life with her, and now I was faced with the harsh reality that everything I thought we were was a lie. As I walked away from the table, the weight of my decision pressed heavily on my shoulders. In the following days, I tried to process everything. I went to work, but my mind was elsewhere, consumed by visions of Rachel with Jason. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see them together, laughing and sharing moments that were supposed to be ours. It became unbearable. I felt like I was living in a fog, moving through life but not really participating in it. I sought comfort in my friends, confiding in Jake about the situation, though I didn't reveal all the details. I told him that Rachel and I were having issues, that I was feeling betrayed. I didn't want to paint her as the villain, but I also couldn't hide the pain I was feeling. "Dude, you've got to think about what you want," Jake said one evening as we shared a beer at our usual bar. "Are you going to stay with someone who can't be honest with you?" His words struck a chord. I was terrified of the prospect of losing Rachel, yet I was equally terrified of staying in a relationship that felt tainted. I needed to figure out what I wanted, not just for me but for our future. That weekend, I decided to take a step back and really reflect. I rented a cabin by the lake for a couple of days, hoping the quiet would help me gain some clarity. I needed space to think without the emotional chaos of our home looming over me. As I sat on the porch, sipping coffee and staring at the still water, I began to write down my thoughts. I wrote about all the good times Rachel and I had shared, the dreams we had built together, the love that had once felt so strong. But right alongside those memories were the stinging betrayals. I wrote down my feelings of anger, sadness, and confusion. I poured out all my emotions onto the page, and I could feel the weight lifting slightly as I did. But as I continued to write, a question kept resurfacing. Could I forgive her? I thought about how much I had invested in our marriage and how deeply I still loved her, despite the betrayal. Yet, could I ever look at her the same way again? The answer wasn't clear, and that uncertainty gnawed at me. When I returned home, I was still on the fence. Rachel had tried to reach me while I was away, sending texts that were a mix of apologies and pleas for me to come home. Her words were a mix of desperation and guilt. "I miss you, Mark. I know I messed up. Please let's talk," she wrote. I didn't respond right away. I needed time to think. Eventually, I decided it was time to have another conversation. This time, I wanted to lay everything on the line. I was tired of half-truths and playing games. I wanted to know if Rachel was genuinely remorseful or if she was simply trying to save face. That evening, I invited her to sit down with me. The atmosphere felt charged again, like before a storm. "Rachel, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but filled with emotion. Her eyes darted nervously. "Did you think about what I said about us?" "I did," I replied, taking a deep breath. "But I need clarity. I need to know if you're truly sorry for what you did or if you're just scared of losing me." Her expression shifted. I could see guilt and fear etched on her face. "I'm so sorry, Mark. I made a huge mistake. I never meant to hurt you. It was just a fling. I got caught up in the moment. It didn't mean anything to me." "Didn't mean anything," I echoed. "You shared intimate moments with him, Rachel. You talked about love. That's more than just a fling." I could see her struggling to find the right words. I know it was wrong, but it's over now, I promise. I want to fix this, I really do. I love you and I miss what we had." I looked at her, searching for sincerity. "Rachel, love isn't just about words, it's about trust, and right now I don't trust you. How can I?" She started to cry and I felt a pang of empathy. I know I've lost your trust. I'll do whatever it takes to earn it back. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything you want. Just please don't leave me. I wanted to believe her, but doubt lingered in my mind. Therapy? You think that'll solve everything? It's a start, she replied, her voice softening. I want to understand why I did this. I want to be better for us. As I listened, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to reach out and comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay. But another part was screaming for me to stand firm, to not let her manipulation take hold of me again. Rachel, I need time to think, I said finally. I can't just jump back into this. I understand, she said, wiping her tears. I'll give you all the time you need. But please know this, I love you and I'm willing to fight for us. The words hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. I realized that while she was willing to put in the effort, I had to decide if I was willing to trust her again. The road ahead felt daunting, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let my emotions dictate my next steps. I needed to take control of my life, for better or worse. I made a decision. I would give her a chance to prove her commitment, but I would also take steps to protect my heart. I needed to be prepared for whatever lay ahead, whether it meant rebuilding our relationship or preparing to walk away. Trust would be hard to rebuild, but the journey toward clarity had to begin there, and I was ready to take the first step. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself walking a tightrope between hope and skepticism. After that confrontation with Rachel, I tried to navigate our new reality, which felt more like a chess game than a marriage. She was eager to prove her commitment, and I watched her closely, evaluating every action and word she offered. I wanted to believe in her intentions, but the scars of betrayal ran deep. I agreed to couples therapy, albeit reluctantly. It felt like a step in the right direction, but I was acutely aware that it was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Rachel was adamant about making this work, and her enthusiasm was both heartening and disconcerting. I often found myself questioning her sincerity. Was she genuinely remorseful, or just trying to salvage the relationship because she feared being alone? In therapy, the first few sessions were focused on communication. We discussed our feelings, but Rachel often struggled to articulate her emotions. The therapist would prompt her, asking insightful questions, and I would sit there, observing her responses. I could see her trying, but sometimes it felt like she was grasping for straws. I was just being stupid, she would say, her voice laced with frustration as she fought to find the right words. I didn't think about the consequences. Meanwhile, I poured my heart out during those sessions. I wanted to be honest about the pain I felt, the feelings of betrayal that haunted me. How can we move forward when I can't even trust you anymore? I asked. Rachel would reach for my hand, trying to connect, but I often pulled away. I wasn't ready to let her in completely. I needed to protect myself. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, I returned home feeling emotionally drained. Rachel was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and the aroma of garlic and herbs filled the air. For a moment, it felt like old times, before the betrayal, before the upheaval. I wanted to savor that feeling, but it was fleeting. I could still feel the weight of our reality pressing on me. "Hey Mark, how was therapy today?" she asked, her voice light. "It was fine," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "We talked about trust again." Rachel turned to face me, a hint of desperation in her eyes. "I want to rebuild that trust. I'm determined to show you I can be the wife you deserve." I felt my heart squeeze. What if I don't know if I want that yet? I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. Her expression shifted, the hope on her face faltered. "What do you mean?" "I thought we were working on this together. I thought you wanted to try." "I do want to try, but I need to know you're not just saying things to make me feel better," I replied, frustration creeping into my voice. "I need more time to process all of this." Rachel looked down at her hands, and for a moment I felt a pang of sympathy. "I get it. I messed up, but I'm trying. Can we just take it one day at a time?" Her words echoed in my mind. I wanted to believe in her so desperately, but I also felt a sense of urgency. I had to protect myself. I started to create boundaries. If we were going to make this work, I needed to establish what was acceptable and what was not. Over the next few weeks, we fell into a tentative routine of therapy sessions and small attempts at reconnecting. We went out for dinners and tried to engage in activities that reminded us of happier times, but underlying our efforts was an unshakable tension. I often caught myself watching Rachel for signs of deceit, scanning her face for clues that she was hiding something. The emotional toll weighed heavily on both of us. There were moments of genuine connection, though. There were laughs over shared jokes, late-night talks about our dreams, and those fleeting moments that reminded me of why I fell in love with her in the first place. But just as quickly, those moments would be interrupted by waves of doubt and insecurity. Could I really move past this? One night as we sat on the couch watching TV, I felt the urge to dig deeper again. "Can I ask you something?" I said, my heart racing. "Of course." Rachel replied, her eyes shifting from the screen to me. "Do you think you're really ready to commit to this, to us, or are you still having doubts?" I asked, my voice steady but vulnerable. She paused, a look of contemplation washing over her face. "I've had doubts, Mark, I won't lie, but I know I want to be with you. I've realized how much I took for granted. I don't want to lose you." I studied her expression, trying to gauge her sincerity. "And what about Jason? Is there a part of you that still has feelings for him?" Her face hardened slightly, and I could see the defensiveness creeping in. "No, that was a mistake. He was a distraction. I was confused, but I don't love him. I love you." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of her confession heavy between us. "Sometimes I feel like I'm just a consolation prize," I admitted, my voice cracking. "I don't want to feel that way." Rachel reached for my hand. "You're not a consolation prize, Mark. I know I messed up, but I want to make things right. I'm committed to this." I felt the tension in my chest loosen slightly. Maybe she was being genuine, but the emotional scars still needed healing, and I knew this wouldn't be a quick fix. As the weeks continued to unfold, I began to see the small changes in Rachel. She was more attentive, more engaged in our conversations. She was making an effort to show me that she cared, and I couldn't deny that it softened the edges of my anger. But with every step forward, there seemed to be two steps back. One evening, while Rachel was in the shower, I picked up her phone from the living room table. My heart raced as I unlocked it, the urge to dig deeper gnawing at me. I scrolled through her messages, feeling guilty but compelled. What if there was something I missed? I found her text conversations with friends discussing our therapy sessions. They were supportive, but then I stumbled upon a conversation that made my stomach drop. One friend had asked if she still thought about Jason, and Rachel had replied, "Sometimes I wonder if it was just a phase, but I'm putting it behind me." My heart sank. Those words felt like a dagger. It was a glimmer of doubt that shattered the fragile hope I had been nurturing. I had to confront her again, but I also knew that this time I needed to be more strategic. I needed to uncover the depth of her commitment to us, and the truth felt more elusive than ever. With that thought in mind, I steeled myself for what was to come. I had to get to the bottom of her feelings and intentions, and I wouldn't shy away from the truth again. The stakes were too high. I had to find out if Rachel was genuinely committed to rebuilding our marriage, or if the shadows of her past would forever haunt our future. With the new knowledge I had gained from my late-night phone snooping, a sense of urgency washed over me. I couldn't let Rachel's words hang in the air without probing deeper into her feelings. I needed clarity, understanding that went beyond the surface level of our conversations. I felt the tension building inside me, and I knew it was time for another confrontation, one that would cut through any lingering ambiguity. That evening, as we sat down for dinner, I felt a knot forming in my stomach. I could already sense that Rachel was in a good mood. She was chatty and laughing at things that normally wouldn't even elicit a chuckle. It was almost as if she was trying to paint over the cracks in our relationship with a fresh coat of enthusiasm. But I couldn't ignore the doubt that had begun to fester within me, and I knew I had to confront her before it consumed me. "Rachel, can we talk after dinner?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral despite the anxiety swirling inside me. "Sure, what's up?" she replied, her smile faltering slightly. We finished eating and moved to the living room, where the atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken tension. I took a deep breath, trying to center myself. "I need to talk about something I found," I said slowly, watching her face for any signs of alarm. Rachel's expression shifted immediately. "What do you mean? What did you find?" I pulled her text thread up on my phone and showed it to her. You mentioned to a friend that you still think about Jason sometimes. Why is that? Her eyes widened in shock and disbelief. Mark, that's not fair. You went through my phone. I had to know the truth, Rachel. You said you were committed to us, but how can you be if you're still thinking about him? She paused, her face flushing. It was a moment of weakness. I was confused. Confused? You kissed him, Rachel. You were intimate with him. How can you say you've moved on if those feelings are still lingering? I was trying to find myself. I messed up, okay, but I don't love him. I love you. The desperation in her voice struck a chord, but I felt my skepticism bubbling to the surface. If you love me, why are you still holding on to thoughts of someone else? That doesn't make any sense. Rachel stood up, pacing the room, her frustration palpable. Because I was insecure. I thought I wanted something different, something exciting. But it was a mistake. I don't want him. Can't you see I'm trying to be better? I watched her, torn between the anger I felt and the love I still held for the woman I had married. Trying isn't enough, Rachel. I need more than just words. I need actions. I need to see you fighting for us in ways that matter. I am fighting for us. I went to therapy. I'm trying to change. What more do you want from me? She pleaded. I took a deep breath. I want you to cut all ties with Jason. No more contact, no more thinking about him. I need to know you're serious about us, and that means no more reminders of what happened. Rachel looked at me, her face filled with uncertainty. Do I really have to do that? I mean, he's not a bad person. He was just someone who listened to me when I felt alone. It doesn't matter. You can't rebuild our marriage while having those ties. It's not fair to me or to us. If you want this to work, you have to make sacrifices. She sighed deeply, a look of defeat crossing her face. Okay, I'll do it. I'll cut him out. But it's going to take time for me to completely move on. Can't you at least acknowledge that I'm trying? I acknowledge that, but I also need you to understand the impact of your actions. It's not just about what you feel, it's about what you've done. I need time to process too, I replied, my voice softening slightly. Rachel nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I get it, I really do. I'll cut him out, I promise. Just please don't give up on me yet. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt a combination of exhaustion and a flicker of hope. Rachel had agreed to cut ties with Jason, and for the first time in weeks, it felt like we might be moving in the right direction. But my heart was still heavy with doubt. Would she really follow through? The following days were a mix of tension and tentative optimism. Rachel seemed more focused, reaching out to friends and engaging in activities that brought her joy. I admired her effort, but I was still cautious, waiting for any sign that she wasn't fully committed. I didn't want to be blindsided again. One evening, as we sat together watching a movie, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Rachel leaned against me, her head resting on my shoulder, and for a moment I allowed myself to feel the warmth of her presence without the shadow of betrayal looming over us. But then, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from Jake, asking if I wanted to grab a drink. I replied that I would, but as I was about to put my phone down, another notification popped up. This one was from an unknown number. My heart raced as I opened it. It was a message from Jason. Hey, just checking in. Let me know if you're free to talk. Miss you. Panic surged through me. I had just confronted Rachel about cutting ties, and now here was the very person she had promised to sever all connections with reaching out. I felt the ground shift beneath me, and the flicker of hope I had felt just moments before extinguished in an instant. I spun to face Rachel, my heart pounding. What the hell is this? I asked, holding up my phone. Her face went pale as she caught sight of the screen. Mark, I can explain. Explain what? This is exactly what I was afraid of. You told me you cut him off. How can I trust you if you're still talking to him? I swear I wasn't going to respond. He just reached out. I didn't know what to do. Rachel's voice trembled, but I was losing my patience. Didn't know what to do. You should have blocked him, Rachel. You should have told him to never contact you again. This was supposed to be over. My voice was rising, frustration bubbling over. I know, I thought I could handle it. But it's complicated, complicated. You don't get to play that card anymore. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You keep saying you want to make things work, but you're still holding on to him like a safety net. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I'm trying. Please just give me a chance to do the right thing. I felt the anger drain from me, replaced by something colder and more isolating. You've had your chance, Rachel. This isn't just about wanting to be better, it's about proving it. And right now, you're failing. I threw my phone onto the table, my heart racing. I can't keep doing this. It's exhausting. You have to decide. Is it him or is it me? As the words hung between us, I felt the weight of our relationship crashing down around us. I had hoped for progress, but this felt like another betrayal, another test of my faith in her. The future I had envisioned felt further away than ever, and I realized that my heart was bruised in ways I hadn't fully understood. The moment of truth had arrived, and I knew I had to make a choice. It was time to face the reality of our situation, whether it meant fighting for our love or accepting that sometimes, love isn't enough to heal the wounds of betrayal. The decision was mine to make, and I felt the weight of it pressing heavily on my chest. In the silence that followed my ultimatum, I could hear my heart pounding in my chest. The atmosphere in the room felt thick with tension, heavy with the weight of the truth we were both avoiding. Rachel's face was streaked with tears, her hands trembling as she held onto the edge of the table. I could see the panic in her eyes, but I was done with the games. I needed to know where we stood. "Mark, please," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I made a mistake. I wasn't going to respond to Jason. I swear. I thought I could handle it, but it caught me off guard. I'm trying to get my life back on track. I swear I want to be with you." The desperation in her voice twisted my heart, but my mind was made up. "Rachel, this isn't just about your feelings anymore. I can't keep investing in a relationship where you're still tempted to hold on to someone else, even as a friend. It feels like you haven't chosen me." "I have chosen you," she exclaimed, her voice rising in frustration. "I'm here, aren't I? I'm going to therapy. I'm trying to be a better person." I took a step back, trying to gather my thoughts. "But you also said you still think about him. You have to understand how that makes me feel. It makes me feel like a backup plan." "I don't think of him like that. It's not the same," Rachel cried. "I thought it was just a fling, a distraction. I was lost, but I'm finding my way back. I want you in my life, Mark, and I want to fix this." Her words hung in the air, echoing my own turmoil. Did I still want this? Or was I merely holding on to a shattered dream? I felt the conflicting emotions swirl inside me, the love I still had for her battling against the pain of betrayal. "Rachel," I started slowly. "I love you, but love isn't enough. You need to understand that rebuilding trust takes time and effort, and I can't be the only one trying. I've done my part, but I'm not going to keep fighting for a relationship where I don't feel secure. You have to choose. It's either me and a commitment to rebuilding our marriage, or him and whatever that means for you." She looked up at me, her eyes wide with realization. "You're right. I haven't cut him out completely, and I need to. I should have done it the moment you asked me. I'll block him. I promise," but I felt my resolve wavering. "Rachel, you need to understand this is just about blocking a number. It's about the emotional commitment to our marriage. If you're still thinking about him, then we can't move forward." As I said those words, I felt a sense of clarity washing over me. I couldn't ignore the truth any longer. I had tried my best to work through this with her, but I was still standing on uncertain ground. The fear of getting hurt again loomed large, overshadowing the flickers of hope I had tried to cling to. "I want to take some time apart," I finally said, my voice steady but tinged with sadness. "I think it's the best thing for both of us right now. I need to figure out what I really want." Rachel's face fell, and I could see the realization hit her like a wave. "No, Mark, don't do this. I need you. I can change. I want to change." "I hope you do," I replied, my heart aching. "But right now, I need to focus on myself. I can't keep putting myself in a position where I have to question your loyalty. You need to prove to me that you're serious about us." Tears streamed down her face. "Please don't leave. Give me a chance to show you I can do this. I'll do anything." I reached out and gently cupped her face in my hands, looking into her eyes. "I want to believe that, Rachel, but I need to see actions, not just words. Time apart might give us both the clarity we need." As I stepped away, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. I had made my choice, and while it pained me to see her hurting, I knew I had to prioritize my own well-being. I gathered a few belongings and headed out, my heart heavy with the weight of what could have been. The days that followed were some of the hardest I had ever faced. I stayed with a friend, trying to distract myself and process everything. I went through a whirlwind of emotions: angry, sad, relieved, confused. I felt like I was grieving not just a relationship, but the future I had envisioned with Rachel. As time passed, I began to gain perspective. I replaced the empty moments with activities that brought me joy, spending time with friends, going for runs, focusing on my work. I realized that while Rachel had been a significant part of my life, I was still my own person and I needed to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet. After a few weeks, I received a text from Rachel. "I've blocked Jason. I'm committed to working on myself. I miss you." The message stirred something inside me, a mix of hope and skepticism. I responded, "I appreciate that. I hope you're serious about this, but I'm still figuring things out." In the following weeks, we communicated sporadically, and I could sense that she was genuinely trying. She had started going to therapy on her own and had even reached out to some of her friends for support. I could see the changes, but I was still cautious, my heart still guarded. Eventually, after 2 months apart, we agreed to meet for coffee. As I sat across from her, I saw the tension in her shoulders ease a little, and I could sense the vulnerability in her eyes. We talked about our feelings, the mistakes made, and what had changed since our separation. "Mark, I want you to know that I've taken this seriously. I know hurt you and I'm truly sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I've had to confront a lot of my own insecurities and past mistakes and it's been hard, but I want to earn your trust again." As I listened, I found myself softening a bit. The sincerity in her voice showed me that she was on a path of self-discovery. "I want to believe you," I said carefully, "but trust takes time. I'm still healing from what happened." "I understand," she replied, her eyes earnest. "I'll do whatever it takes to show you I'm serious about this. I don't want to lose you again." We spent the afternoon talking, allowing the walls between us to slowly come down. It was tentative, but it felt like a step in the right direction. As we wrapped up, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation. I knew rebuilding trust wouldn't happen overnight, but I was open to the possibility. In the weeks that followed, we took things slowly, dipping our toes back into the waters of our relationship. Rachel continued to show me her commitment through actions, and while I still carried the scars of betrayal, I started to believe that healing was possible. I learned that sometimes love isn't about perfection. It's about navigating through the messiness of life together. Trust can be rebuilt, but it requires effort from both sides. I knew it would be a long journey, but I was willing to take it step by step, as long as Rachel remained committed to doing the same. In the end, I realized that I had to embrace the uncertainty of life. Love, trust, and healing are often intertwined, and while the future remained unwritten, I was hopeful. Ultimately, I had taken control of my own narrative, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace settling in my heart.